my experiences. To share my experiences as a faculty member, as an editor, or as a researcher of the company, how we can go for a comprehensive and credible academic writing. I know majority of you would be interested to go for a work that can be published somewhere, that can get a good space in a journal or in any of the book. So with that note, I would like to proceed ahead. If word class was easy, then everyone would be doing it. Now, again, if you wish to get your work published somewhere, and if you want to go for a comprehensive and credible academic work, then obviously it's difficult. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. If you are going to target a good journal, then it means that journal is for everyone, no matter you are in an America or in an Arabian country or in a Far East countries. So you are going to compete a larger audience, a larger prospects who are looking for the same journal. Now, the point is you need to be very good conceptually. You got to have good writing skills, and you need to have a spirit to showcase your work very well. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to find a space in a book, in a journal, or somewhere else. Now, well, this is something that we really don't want to see. I know when I started working on my research is obviously is a twofold process. At one side, you have to work practically. You have to conduct a research that is obviously a cumbersome process, uh, a time consuming process, not a difficult sometimes, but it needs time. And then you have to document your research. You need to develop a thesis or an article or a research paper. Now, out of 6 or 8 months efforts or a 1 year effort, if you get a rejection, then obviously it's going to be demoralizing, discouraging. And we are here to see the parameters, to see the ways how we can go, and we can pause different stages of the review process. Well, whatever I am going to discuss, though these are going to be my own experiences, but I just extracted something which is out of the decisions of the various editors. Here I got the reasons for the rejection. What I told you, we really don't want to see the rejection email or the rejection letter out of our research work or the academic work. Here is the synthesis or the extract of the main reasons of the rejection. Analysis of the editorial selection decisions reveals top reasons for the rejections are unimportant or insignificant contributions. It counts around 30%, 29.3%. Methodological shortcomings or flaws, 26%. And inadequate theories or concepts, 21%. Poor writing or presentation, 10%. Out of scope for particular journal, 9.6%. And what I told you, these are the extracts from the research studies. And basically, before this session, I was again going through the published material where we got these 5 reasons, and I got it from the publish or perish and editorial perspective. And basically, he cited from the analysis of editorial decisions by economics and political science journals editors. So this one is the extract of some editors the reasons behind why our work is rejected. And well, this session is important because, well, we have the need to be prominent or to excel our life. If you are somewhere working as a trainer or as a part of faculty member, as a teacher, or maybe as an independent researcher, then obviously you need to have good publications. And for good publication, there are few parameters, and we have to follow those parameters in true spirit. And these are the 5 common mistakes or common shortcomings, and we have to address these shortcomings. So I try to frame this presentation for this session on these 5 major reasons. To start with the first reason, and that is unimportant or insignificant contribution. Now the title is what makes a better contribution. You are working, you are striving so hard, but if there is no contribution, then the equation is going to be multiplied by 0. Well, before proceeding, I would like to quote what the Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand to be understood. Basically, it's about empathizing. That empathy, the word empathy is so important in our life. A very small example, because I am from the business and management and I am from the human resource management field. And what I call my student when they are going for the interview, so I just ask them to think like the interviewer. Like if I own a company and if someone is coming to me for the interview, what I expect, I am not much interested in the degrees and certificates. I would be more interested to know the competencies, to know the skill, the knowledge, the attitude, and the abilities of the person. So basically, I am empathizing. I am just putting myself to the other place, to know the dynamics of the other person. So my friends, my first point is just to empathize yourself, just to think like you have the journal, you are the owner or the editor of the journal. So what kind of paper would you be looking for? If the paper is not well written, if the paper doesn't have any contribution, the theoretical, the practical contribution, the paper is silent about the novelty, the problem statement. So obviously I won't be interested to entertain that paper. So now you have to, once you have to think like an editor, then this would make the process quite simple. Now, as a researcher or as a scholar or the academic writer, you have to follow all those parameters that you think should be there in a good research journal or in a good research papers. So if I am the editor of the journal, so what I would be looking, I would be looking 5 answers of the questions. Well, why I should go for academic writing? What is the purpose of that writing? Obviously, when I want my work to be published somewhere, so I want someone to read it. Someone should incorporate the work in his or her life. If my academic writing is about the politics, if it's about the sports, and if it's about the corporate world, then the relevant audience should go through and see the lessons in my academic writing. So these 4 questions are though broad, but these are about the audience or the readers. For example, the first question is, this question is from the editorial perspective, but you have to think like a writer. The question is, will the paper be used by the researcher for citation? Now you have to work on your academic writing on your paper so that it could have been cited by various researchers or scholars or the authors. If your paper is going to attract more citation, it is going to get a space in a research journal. And how it can get more citations? If your topic is current, if your topic is interesting, and if your topic is novel, then obviously it is going to attract more citations. For examples, from the last around 2 years, we are getting more of the academic writings on COVID crisis. Why? The topic is novel. The topic is much relevant to what is happening in this world. Long time ago, around 10 to 15 years ago, we got more writings about the downsizing and restructuring because the world was facing the same phenomena. Organizations were going for the downsizing, restructuring, and re-engineering. So you should ask this question from yourself. Is your research is going to invite more citations or not? The second question is, will the paper be discussed in a classroom environment? Well, as a teacher, mostly I share the papers with my students, but there are some parameters to share the paper. Obviously, I cannot discuss a paper of around 50 pages to my students. I cannot share the paper which is quite technically written. Like if it is difficult for my students to read, then obviously I would avoid sharing that paper to my students. And if the paper is not of the interest of the students, so I would not be much interested to share that paper. So the paper should be good enough and should be understandable to my students. Will the paper be helpful for practicing managers? A very important point. It's on the practical grounds. Is there something for the practicing manager if the paper is from the education or for the teaching practices? So there should be some lessons for the teachers who are there in a real life situation. So in short, it's about balancing the two sides, the academia as well as the industry. So there should be something for the academia, for the researchers, for the scholars, for the professors, and there should be something for the practicing managers as well. The last one is the paper interesting enough for the students? Now, obviously, it's always difficult to motivate students to read the paper, and students usually go for the papers which is quite short and which is quite easy to understand. As an independent students, I would be interested to go for my interest, and well, if the paper is quite enriched with so much information, then students won't be interested. So anyways, precisely, I would say as a student, someone would go for a paper which is comprehensive but precise. So that two sides are important. Comprehensive but precise is going to make the mark. Now, where should I work on, and at what should I write? Selecting a right topic. I still remember the time I was invited for a speech, and the speech was for the research students, and majority of them belong to a corporate setting, like they were working, and with their job assignments, they were also getting some education. And at the mid of the road, they asked a question about, they were actually looking for the ways to select a topic. Now there are some, again, the features, there are something to do while selecting a topic. It can be just about your interest, but if you have the interest to work on the compensation practices or the conventional HR practices, so then keep in mind it's about your interest, but there have been much said on this topic. You have to follow some novelty. My point is, you should select a topic which is aligned with your interest, but that should also be current, that should also be the interest of the larger people. So the first point here is you have to answer this question: is the research topic important and current? Maybe the topic is important, but if that has nothing to do with the current reality or the current dynamics of your country, of the environment, then again that is not going to be much appreciated. So think in these two ways as well. The second point is so important. I been to various countries, like I've been to Malaysia, in Saudi Arabia, the Turkey and European countries. And from my own experiences, the developing world is facing the same kind of challenges. And our students have the same kind of attitude and same kind of temperament. So we have to address those challenges. And there is a challenge of the education as well. We have to work on our education system. And my this statement is a generalized statement which is for the developing world. My second point is, do you belong to a network of people interested in the topic? Go to conferences, talk to major researchers in the field, contact authors if paper is not easily accessible. Basically, why I said our world, the developing world, is facing the same kind of challenges, because whenever the persons, the students, the scholars, they are there for the research conferences or any kind of symposium or the event, then they are for the point scoring. It's quite unfortunate, but this is how the things are. The problem is when people are in the research conferences, so they take it as I have attended 23 conferences, but if that conference could not add any anything in your life, then what is the takeout of that conference? So whenever you are, because of COVID crisis, we are here at a Zoom, but when you are there somewhere, you got the opportunity to visit Singapore or Malaysia or Pakistan or somewhere else, then try to be very vigilant on that platform. Try to develop your social networking, try to be in contact with someone who is sharing your interest, especially the one who is the author. Obviously at this moment, I don't know much about your taste, about your interest, but let's say if you have the interest on the human development, then if you find a scholar, a professor or a researcher on this background who has a good publication, then try to share your ideas with him or her, and just try to make a liaison. And that contact building or networking is so important in your life in the academia. And I literally can't much emphasize on your social skills, on your networking skills, but that is so important. So don't take just the conferences for granted, just to make it a number game, rather take it in a true spirit. Then keep an eye on call for papers or for conferences or specialist issues on the or the edited books. When the research journals they invite special calls on special topics, then that is the probability to get your work published in that journal. The last point is little technical but important. follows future directions in compelling way. Uh, Again, because we have a very short time for this session, otherwise I could have your introduction. But believe me, I can see majority of students when they have to work on any of the topic for their academic writings, commonly they follow the future directions. For example, if I am a student, the scholar, the researcher from the marketing, then I am going to, but I'm telling you, it's on the practical grounds. So students used to download few papers, the recent papers, and they start following the future directions of that paper. There is literally nothing bad with that approach, but I would suggest to go for the systematic review, meta-analysis, or the integrative review. Shortly, it's about the synthesis of the literature. It's about a comprehensive literature review, because in these kind of academic writings, the published academic writings, if you are following the future directions, then in the systematic review is basically the crux of so many studies. So if you are following the future directions of so many scholars, then obviously that counts more credibility of your topic. Again, there should be the element of the conceptualization, a conventional way to select the topic, but you have to support your contention, you have to support your idea with some references, and that reference, if coming from the systematic review or the meta analysis, it add rigor to your topic, or to the purpose of the study, because that is taken from the studies of the so many scholars. Formulating the research topic well. For the good academic writing, review last 5 years papers of the best journals of your field. Again, it's about your own field. If you are coming from the IT background, information systems, then obviously the research journals. And well, it's again about your own field. I know in the management, journal of management is among the best journal. If I'm from the finance, then journal of finance is among the best journal. And if you are from the educational background, like if you have the interest in education or pedagogy kind of topics, then you need to know the best journals of that area. So you have to download, you have to, the first and foremost step is the review of the paper. You have to thoroughly review the papers, especially the papers which been published in the last 5 years, and then select 5 topics that you like but must be current. And out of that reading, try to jot down the 5 best topics. And by writing those topics, it can be your own approach, or you can take the assistance of someone who is your friend and who is also competent in academic writing, and ask these 3 questions. Why is the topic good? Why you think that topic is good? And which journal usually publish such topics? The second point is important. I'm going to elaborate little more in a detail later on, but because the journals now in this environment are very particular about their scope. If you are going to submit your paper in any of the journal, so they are going to see if it is aligned with their scope of the journal or not. If it's little beyond, then they are not going to entertain, no matter your academic writing is so good, no matter you have put a lot of efforts, but if it is beyond the scope of the journal, they are not going to entertain. And the last one is it doable? Sometimes what we are going to do, maybe you are going to undertake a project which is going to be quite unique, but if it is if it is doable in 2 or 3 years, then obviously no one can recommend you. I know, like everywhere, we have a lot of pressure from our university to get our work published in a good journal. So, but if you are going to conduct a study comprising 2 or 3 years, then obviously your university cannot wait for 3 years to get just one publication. So try to be ambitious, but don't be over ambitious. Try to, see on a practical grounds when you can practically do the study, and how long it's gonna take to document the study, the results of the study. Now, the second problem with why our researchers never get a space in a good journal, the second problem is methodological shortcomings or flaws. And what I have jotted down, how to enhance methodological rigor of the study. My friends, when sometimes students come to me and they said, look sir, this paper is so simple, and that is published in a too good journal, but the dynamics in this environment are quite different. uh, Over a period of time, things are quite changed and things are quite advanced, and you have to follow all those parameters. On a methodological ground, the first parameter is follow CMV or SDR protocols. Like, because we are coming from the social sciences background, and in social sciences, there is the likelihood of the method variance. For example, our studies are normally based on the surveys, the interview or the questionnaire surveys. And obviously, when you are asking questions directly to the respondents, then there is a kind of the biases. People are not comfortable. They are going to reveal what is socially desirable. Follow CMV and SDR means follow common method variance and social desirability response protocols. There are some protocols, the standards, and you have to follow those protocols. Otherwise, our studies are more susceptible to the method variance. As an example, if you have to just apprise me about the wrongdoings in the organization, then people are little reluctant to say something. Sorry.
Only 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Only
please. Okay.
Only.
Okay, 5 minutes. All right. So it's about the methodological rigor, the methodology. I'm going to share my presentation. I'm going to share my complete detail, because there are a few more slides and I don't think I'm going to complete all those slides. So you can later email me or discuss with me using any other contact detail which is going to be mentioned. But the methodology should be rigor enough in your research writing. Refining theory, a good research always starts with a theory and end at a theory. There should be a complete underpinning of the theory to your research, and you have to at the end clearly elaborate to what extent your study has complemented or contradicted the theory, and in both cases you have to elaborate in a detail. There are something which I took from the earlier studies. Well, again, this one is taken from the AMJ Academy of Management Journal, is the topmost journal in our field. And I'm gonna share my slides with you, and you can see to what extent editors are conscious about the problems in the journal, especially the problems in the theory. So these are the excerpts taken from the earlier or the published studies, and basically these are the objections or the reviewer comments about some of the studies. The fourth one is the presentation of the study methods. Now, my brothers and sisters belongs to Indonesia and Malaysia. Obviously, it's quite difficult to write the way the people in Europe and America, the way they are writing. So how to address these challenges? Maybe you are quite good grammatically, but it's very difficult to follow their standards. Now, what you can do, it's basically my own tip. You have to collaborate with the researchers and the scholars. What I told you, you have to work on the collaboration when you are there in the research conferences somewhere in some other places. And that collaboration can also be meant for your analysis, for the proofreading of the paper, and for maybe the data collection. So it's not, you probably would be interested to ask this question. Well, if someone is there in a developed country, then is he going to collaborate with me or not? So keep in mind, even if you are interested, I am going to see a scholar, the researcher or the writer. If he or she is the engaged writer, then I am going to share the time and my efforts. Then the last one, which is so much important, follow scope of the journal, which is about the 9.6%, about 10%, the reason of the rejection. Here, what I would recommend, I'm just going to share in a very precise way. When you are going for the academic writing, then try to know where you are going to submit your work for publication and follow the spirit of that journal or magazine or the book or wherever you're gonna submit, because all the journals or the publishers, they have their own culture of publishing. You will definitely find some deviations. We cannot contend that this one is a quality journal or this one is not. It's all about their own spirit. It's all about their template, their format, and you have to follow the format, layout, or the sequence of the particular journal. So try to focus at the journal or the book or the magazine or wherever you are interested. So these are some of the research journals which are interdisciplinary in nature, and no matter you are coming from the marketing background, education background, or the IT background, you can submit your academic work to all these, and they have at least a space, or maybe their scope is broad enough to entertain your work. So you can watch and you can go through in a detail about these all journals, and inshallah you will find quite helpful. So on this note, I thank you a lot, and later I'm here to answer your questions or queries, but inshallah I would be sharing my presentation with the organization, with the organizer, so that it could reach to all the audience. And thank you very much again.
Okay. You are welcome. Okay, you are welcome, Mr. Thanks for your explanation. I think it's very nice. Special for today, we will move to the first speakers. He is Dr. Muhammad Syamsuri Muhammad Saad from Malaysia. For the speaker, I'm sure.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Very much for the invitation. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wa salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. My fellow friends, Dr. Ismail, Suadi, Weke, Madam Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you can hear me. Inshallah, I'll try to share. I'm not very sure. Can I know how long I'm given the time to share? How many minutes am I given time to share? Hello, boleh bisa tahu berapa lama saya diberikan masa untuk presentasi?
I give you chance to explain 50 minutes. 15 minutes. Are you hear me?
Thank you. Okay. All right. I'll be sharing about some practical guides to write. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir. Pardon, sir?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Shamsuri, you are quite audible to everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Doctor. Your sound is clear here.
Dr. Samsuri. Dr. Samsuri. Are you hear me?
Iya, bisa Pak.
Iya, bisa, Pak. Hello.
Well, I guess before Dr. Shamsuri joined the session, if you have question from my side, then feel free. We can take advantage of this time. Meanwhile, Professor Shamsuri is gonna join.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Something happened to the system just now. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Sorry for the technical problem. So I'll be sharing, more or less the same as what Dr. Adan has been sharing just now. It's just to some different angles, in terms of how can we transfer or translate our academic work into reputable journal. How can we write and publish in reputable journals? So we know that some of the index body that we perceive as having a very good what we call reputation, such as like in Indonesia they have Sinta. Sinta rank the journals in Indonesia from Sinta 1 hingga Sinta 6 ya. So these are what we call the body that regulate and manage the quality of journals or academic writing that is going to be published in journals. So every year there will be ranking, impact, calculations and whatnot. So I'll be sharing based on my experience as in academic writing, and so I'll be sharing based on my experience as the associate chief, editor-in-chief, International Journal of Technology and Human Directions, from in UTM. I'm also an editorial board in few other journals, in UTM, as well as what we call other universities, plus international publisher. And I'm also the review committee for Electronic Journal of Business Research Method, which is actually a Scopus index journal. And alhamdulillah, I've been a reviewer for a few other Scopus plus Web of Science journal. For the International Review of Research in Open and Distributed Learning from McCarthy University in Canada. It is actually H-index of 68 in Q1. So I'll be sharing based on these experiences. But before I go further, I would like to promote our journal. You can, if you were to plan I'll be sharing again. Sorry for the problem, because the internet connection is somehow not stable on my side. So I'm sorry for the problem. Okay. So you are welcome to submit to me so that we can consider for publications in our journal. I will share with you the slides, and then you can always go to the link that I'm giving you. Basically, we'll look at the 5 basic foundations in journal selections. Some practical guides getting published, and some practical checklists for editors. Okay, so these are the 5 items. When we talk about selecting, as the Dr. Adnan has shared just now, these are the 5 items that we must consider journals for publication. Find the right journals. It has to be similar to our areas. We can always Google around and find journals that is actually accommodating or accepting our scope of studies. Then try to find good journal that has good and capable marketing capability. Good image. This is looking at the well-known publishers like Springer, Emerald, Taylor and Francis and whatnot. But there are also, I think, local journals in Indonesia that is also having a very good what we call reputation that we can consider. Reasonable publication time frame. There are good journals, but this journal will publish our paper, or the process of accepting will take even 2 years to publish, because they receive a lot of what we call submissions, plus they are very particular in the quality and in the standards that they're going to accept. So you can look at the journal durations. Some journals they normally put in their how long the process would normally be when we want to publish in the journals. They are up to maybe 9 weeks, for example, or even up to 12 weeks. So these are things that we can what we call look into the journal information. And then high number of readers. Obviously, good journals will attract more readers, and more readers will mean more impact in terms of the citation. Bilangan citasinya, bilangan dikutip itu berapa tergantung kepada jumlah bilangan pembacanya. Jadi kita harus lihat di sisi ini juga gimana atau jurnal mana yang selalunya itu dibaca ataupun mempunyai bilangan pembaca yang tinggi dalam bidang kita, supaya nanti itu menyumbang kepada good reputation in increasing citations. So this is very important. We don't want to publish paper ya, kita nggak mau publikasikan papernya tetapi nggak ada citasinya. Sebab ini menunjukkan bahwa tidak ada impaknya kepada academic community. So this is very important ya. So ini 5 yang harus dilihat. Kemudian ini yang selalunya kita harus fahami ya dalam proses kita katakan mau dipublikasi itu, dari submisinya sampai kalau diterima itu prosesnya, editornya begini ya, masing-masing itu kalau 2 atau 3 blind review, if this 2 or 3 blind reviews, we are expecting that those editors or reviewers will have different perceptions of the quality that we should submit or should actually send to them. So based on my experience of being a reviewer, sometimes we tend to, there are reviewers that tend to be very, very cruel, very what we call straightforward, in terms of very frank in terms of their what we call review input, so we have to be ready to accept the input. Sometimes it is actually not in other journals, not good here but good in other journals. So this is consideration that has kalau ada pelajar yang S3-nya sama S2 yang saya tahu sekarang ini prosesnya kalau mau kita katakan graduasinya itu harus ada paper ya, sama ada yang kita katakan international journal tidak berindeks Scopus, ataupun kalau S3 itu harus Scopusnya itu. Ini proses yang harus kita lalui ya. Dan some practical guides. Now these are some practical guides that Dr. Adnan has also mentioned earlier. So list down the journals, consider the journals that we normally publish, choose the journal that fits our title. The more similar the titles, the higher chances of it getting accepted at the desk editor what we call process, and then we study the pattern, what are the normal topics, what are the popular topics accepted by the journals, what kind of what we call methodology normally in trend right now when we want to actually publish in the journals, because normally journals follow certain trends in terms of accepting papers. In some good journals, they will look at what are the most advanced topic, or what are the most what we call new topic that is going to be considered. Then make sure that we follow the what we call the technicalities of the journals and the templates. Make sure that we get it right, because once we don't follow the template, what we worry is that the editor will say that we are not careful, we are not serious in sending articles to them, because they don't want to babysit us in terms of the what we call basic issues or foundation issues. Okay. And then if our librarian, my experience in Australia, we have librarians that are very well versed with the journal, so they know a lot of what we call good journals, impactful journals. So if your librarian is good, then you can use them as your source of reference. Read and cite similar papers, issues in the paper, possible cite articles in the journal. These are what we call there's no rule of thumb, but basically people will cite around 20 to 30% of similar topic in the same journal. So if you have 30 references in the journal, normally you will cite between 4 to 5 papers coming from that same journal, because this contributes to the citation to the journal, and citation contributes to the impact of the journal and H index of the journals. And then if they associated journals, or what we call, sometimes the publisher, they have few journals under them, and then you can find also other articles that you can cite, with the condition that the paper is actually similar with our topic. Cite, if the chief editor is also writing in our area, then cite the chief editor, because this is going to persuade him or her not to reject the paper early, because this is my paper, so I need to actually make sure that I don't reject it early. So I need to make sure that I send it to the reviewers. Okay, because the aim is not to be rejected at the test rejection. Yeah, cite the experts, and then this is one thing. Number 12, we need to consider, kita harus pertimbangkan untuk menulis sama rakan-rakan dari luar negara. Jadi kalau dilihat oleh editornya itu, maka ada diversity. Oh, this is very good. This is going to be good. Kemudian abstraknya itu harus, kalau bisanya nanti di follow, di copy and paste, kemudian di follow. Kita katakan journalnya itu nanti bisa ditukar-tukar, kemudian di rephrase, paraphrase and whatnot, so that it is actually according to the journal's requirement. So follow the author guidelines. This is very what we call normal. Make what we call the journals template, and styles. They have styles of writing, styles of presenting the analysis, so because it has to be consistent. The journal, because index body will also look at the what we call the consistency of the articles in the journal. Make sure the presentation is okay, good, suitable to the journals, and then make sure that the early part, the introduction, the early literature consists of latest and current literature. 5 years and what we call current. So we're talking about 2021. We're looking at 2017. 2017 hingga 2021. And then make sure that we cite from diverse literature, diverse sources. And one of the best thing is, if you want to actually get good citations, high citations, if you can include the instrument or the questionnaire that we use as an appendix in the paper. And then we can get interview protocols, everything can be put at the back of the paper, as an appendix. Get to know the chief editor, the reviewer for the journal. I will always email to the editor to ask, giving them an outline. Saya akan berikan itu outline of paper saya itu, bukan paper yang penuh, dan tanya sama chief editor sama ada sesuai atau tidak paper saya itu untuk disubmit ke jurnal yang berkenaan. Jadi yang saya kira yang terbaru itu yang tentang massive open online courseware. Bila ditanya, dia kata bisa diterima, cuma harus ditambah beberapa variables. Jadi itu yang ramai yang nggak mau lakukan ataupun rasa takut mau lakukan, tetapi some of the chief editor, they are very good, then they will reply and give us what they expect from the paper. Then we can always promote the journals. So make sure that everything is actually complete in terms of the technical issues. So I wouldn't want to expand further. You can ask questions later on. Correct citation, complete. Because from my experience, pengalaman saya itu ada paper yang dihantar, tapi bila dilihat balik ada citasinya tetapi tidak ada referensinya. Ini menunjukkan bahwa penulis itu enggak teliti. Jadi itu menjadi perkara-perkara yang kita mungkin enggak mau tolong, sebab seharusnya perkara ini yang diberikan perhatian. Kemudian kalau ini yang saya sudah sebut tadi, continuous editing, hantar untuk editing, proofreading, paraphrasing, guna academic phrase banks, perkataan yang biasa bisa digunakan ataupun selalu digunakan dalam academic writing. Ya, ada banyak resources online ya, sumber online yang bisa kita gunakan untuk mendapatkan. Kemudian sudah siap ditulis, maka bisa saja suruh minta rakan-rakan yang expert ataupun rakan-rakan yang selalu publikasi untuk membaca sama ada difahami atau tidak difahami. Yeah. So this is very important because this will show that whether we are writing based on our own assumptions or we based on the reader's assumption too, so that they can understand the paper. Right? And then we can submit to the chief editors and ask their opinions. Some practical. These are things that repeating again from set and choose the journal. If you set one journal, then make sure that we really understand. Kita faham tentang journal itu, trendnya, kemudian nanti kalau sudah ditulis sesuaikan sama kita katakan journal. Kadang-kadang itu title-nya, kalau journalnya itu mungkin Academy of Strategic Management, mungkin perkataan strategic itu juga harus ada dalam title kita. Sebab itu menjadi some of the what we call not to say requirement, but some of the fulfillment criteria, kriteria yang diperlukan. Keywords yang sesuai, follow abstract formats dan sebagainya. Kalau ini yang saya bilang tadi, kalau referensinya itu bisa harus dimasukkan jurnal ataupun artikel dari jurnal yang sama, sebab ini menyumbang kepada H index, H index kita katakan jurnal, dan juga menyumbang kepada impact factor kepada jurnal. Write with our friends from other universities, especially from overseas. Friends from Indonesia can write with friends from Malaysia, from Thailand, from Philippines. Because this will show that you have a lot of what we call flavor. Ada kita katakan input yang berbeza-beza ataupun input yang pelbagai bersama author kita. Kemudian bisa aja kalau sebelum dihantar itu one page write up, kita sama ada one page write up ataupun tulisan satu muka surat, outline, itu kerangka ataupun kita katakan fondasinya, tajuk ataupun artikel kita itu, kemudian nanti dihantar ke chief editor untuk disemak sama ada sesuai atau tidak sesuai. Dan ada sekali kalau setengah jurnal itu memerlukan cover letter, surat iringan, ataupun our application letter to the journals to say that these are the novelty, benda yang baru yang kita buat, jadi orang lain belum buat ataupun masih lagi under research, then we send it to the chief editors. So itu aja dari saya untuk perkongsian ringkas. Jadi kalau ada pertanyaan, ada soalan, nanti bisa di mungkin dalam sesi question and answers, dan saya nanti akan berikan slide ini, slide presentation ini untuk dikongsi bersama. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much for your explanation. I think so nice, and it's very important for us. And now there is a question and answer section for the participants. If we want to give a question to their speaker, you can write down your question in chat box, and raise your hand by clicking the button on your Zoom screen. And the last rule, don't forget to mention your name and the name to whom your question is addressed. For the participant, time is short. Okay, indication for the participants. Once again, you can write down your question in chat box. Ada yang from Sumarti. Oh ya, Alianas. Sorry. Mr. Alianas. Time is short.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much for committee, moderator, and Universitas Muhammadiyah Sinjai for 3-day on international conference. And firstly, thank you very much for give me a good time to ask about the material today. And I think the presenter is a good material explanation about how to how to publish on journal Scopus Indexed, and maybe I will ask about something in different locus. Sometimes Malaysian case, the same topic but the locus different. Something misalnya katakanlah di Malaysia dilakukan sebuah penelitian, lalu kemudian penelitian dengan topik yang sama pula dilakukan di Indonesia. Nah, kita saat sekarang ini menghadapi salah satu poin yang kita hadapi ketika kita ingin mempublish jurnal-jurnal Trindus Scopus itu adalah terkait dengan plagiasi. Nah, yang ingin saya tanyakan di sini adalah bagaimana cara ya supaya kita tetap bisa melakukan penelitian dengan topik-topik atau isu-isu yang sama, tetapi itu tidak tidak masuk dalam plagiarism. Ya, jadi maksudnya katakanlah misalnya ada salah satu topik tertentu, ya case-nya dilakukan di Malaysia, kemudian kita lakukan dengan topik yang sama, kita lakukan penelitian di Indonesia. Nah, apakah misalnya ketika kita mempublish jurnal tersebut itu tidak bagaimana cara memudahkan kita supaya terhindar dari plagiarism? So I think that's my question. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much. Jonas. Okay, for the first speaker.
Siapa ya?
Okay. Muhammad Syamsuri.
Ya, Yeah, for
Okay,
semester 3.
alright. So saya kira yang ditanya itu mau fokusnya kepada plagiarism ya. Maksudnya kalau satu paper itu katakan ini ya kita harus saya kira kita harus bedakan ya kalau hello,
Yeah.
bisa dengar?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Kalau kita mau publikasi ataupun mau tulis tesis ya S3 itu nanti ya itu nanti tidak harus ada pengulangan ya, replikasi ya. Kalau replikasi itu tidak diterima sebagai kualitas S3 ya, cukup terbatas kalau mungkin S2 ya. Kalau publikasi dalam jurnal itu ada banyak kasus di mana kita bisa replicate ya, kita bisa replikasi studi itu. Katakan mungkin studi itu sebelum ini dibuat di Malaysia, nah sekarang mau dibuat di Indonesia. Ya bisa aja direplikasi dan kita bisa jelaskan ya dalam bagian awal itu bahwa kita replikasi itu daripada studi yang mana ya, dan nanti apa bedanya dengan studi yang ataupun yang sudah dipublikasi. Jadi yang nggak boleh di plagiarism itu adalah idenya. Ya, kalau studinya mau direplikasi saya kira nggak ada masalah kalau publikasi jurnal. Ya, cuma dari segi ide penulisan itu nggak harus sama ya. Kalau dipinjam ataupun mau digunakan idenya dari orang lain, maka harus ada atribusi ya, harus ada citasi sama referensi. Yang harus diperhatikan ya. Jadi saya kira kalau mau sebab nanti harus juga difahami ya, kalau jurnal Scopus itu juga ada tingkatan ya, ada 1 sampai Q3 yang Q4 yang paling rendah ya. Jadi harus kita tahu publikasi kita itu ditujukan di mana. Ya, kalau Q1 itu nanti kualitasnya harus kita katakan kualitas yang bagus. Ya, jadi selanjutnya Q1 itu fokusnya kepada bidang baru ya, new research, new frontiers. Ya, kalau mungkin Q4 ya, sebab jurnalnya baru ya, mungkin bisa sebab itu yang saya bilang tadi dari awal, ada keperluan untuk kita mau studi ya, jurnal mana yang kita mau publikasi. Jadi tergantung kepada kita katakan standar jurnal itu, mereka bisa terima atau enggak studi yang seperti atau kayak yang kita mau lakukan. Ya, jadi pemurniannya itu tidak sama antara satu jurnal dengan jurnal yang lain. Jadi itu harus bergantung ya, ataupun harus datang daripada inisiatif kita untuk membuat studi ya. Kalau seperti yang saya letakkan dalam slide presentasi tadi, harus kalau bisa itu dilihat dari 3 tahun ke belakang ya. Gimana ataupun topik apa yang dipublikasi, kemudian kalau metodologinya gimana yang selalu diterima. Ya, sebab ada satu kasus ya, seorang profesor di Malaysia itu berkongsi ada satu jurnal information system ya, IS, itu bidang IT ya, bidang computer science ataupun information technology, but in terms of information science. Tetapi editornya atau chief editornya itu adalah orang yang kualitatif. Ya, jadi dia menerima kalau untuk jurnal itu walaupun Q1 tetapi papernya walaupun dalam bidang information science, selalunya yang diterima adalah qualitative papers. Okay, jadi itu yang saya katakan tadi, kalau kita mau publikasi satu jurnal itu, satu studi trennya ya, studi gayanya, kemudian kalau ada keberanian ya, kita mau menulis email ya, bertanya kepada chief editor ya, sebab ini yang saya pesan untuk lakukan supaya kita tidak membuang masa ya. Ya, kalau kita menulis kemudian menghantar tanpa memahami ya keperluan atau kebutuhan jurnal itu, nanti bila dihantar rupanya itu banyak yang tidak dipenuhi ataupun tidak terpenuh. Itu yang kita mau elakkan ya. Dan the aim cita-citanya enggak supaya tidak ditolak di peringkat what we call desk rejection ataupun di meja chief editor. Seboleh mungkin kita mau pass dari chief editor dan dihantar ke reviewer supaya kita bisa dapat feedback ya dari reviewer ya, dan dari feedback itu nanti kita bisa memperbaiki papernya itu supaya kualitasnya lebih bagus. Oke, jadi bagi saya kalau isu plagiarism ini ya dia tergantung kepada bukan kepada replikasi ya, tapi banyak fokusnya kepada kita meniru idea tanpa idea orang lain tanpa mengatribusi yang sepatutnya. Ya. Alright, saya harap.
Thank you, sir.
Saya harap
And
bisa. Ya.
can I ask one more question?
Depends on the organizer.
Moderator bagaimana?
Do you have any question again?
Ya, jadi okay, thank you for moderator. And another question is, misalnya kita mengalami difficult, misalnya my basic is social science, ya, dan kebanyakan jurnal-jurnal Scopus itu lebih mudah, lebih cepat terbitnya itu terutama ke Q3 sampai dengan Q1 itu kalau pendekatannya kuantitatif. Sementara kalau we basic social science itu cenderungnya approach-nya itu adalah kualitatif approach method ya. Jadi misalnya saya ingin bertanya di sini, kira-kira kiat-kiatnya untuk sekalipun misalnya kita pendekatan kualitatif, tetapi juga kita bisa mudah untuk mempublish jurnal kita. Karena salah satu kendala kita ilmu sosial itu sir adalah ketika pendekatan kualitatif itu cenderung agak susah terbitnya di jurnal-jurnal Scopus, terutama kalau sudah level Q3, Q2 sampai dengan Q1. Jadi mungkin bisa ada tips ataukah strategi untuk terkait dengan hal tersebut. Terima kasih.
Saya kira nanti juga mungkin Pak Dr. Adnan bisa. Adnan, maybe you can add later on the issue of whether social science it's easier for us to focus only on qualitative because requirement.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Because the time is limit, so I give opportunity for the speaker make a closing statement to answer.
Okay, all right. I think to answer the question, there are no what we call fixed formula that we have to publish qualitative papers to be accepted in a good journal. Okay, it depends, as I said, itu tergantung kepada keperluan dan juga standar yang diperlukan oleh jurnal. Kalau kuantitatif itu kalau sekarang ini digunakan SAM structure equation modeling sama ada MOS ataupun PLS for example, it is actually one of the requirements ataupun one of the what we call quality that they want. No longer we enough to just do regressions, simple regressions, but they require sometimes AMOS or PLS, structure equation modeling to so it depends on the journal. As I said, please study the journal carefully and then understand the requirement, and then we start publishing or start writing according to the requirement. Okay, don't write and then want to publish in that journal, then you have to change. Understand first and then write and then submit. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Setelah dia menjawab, kasih
Okay. For the second speaker, can you explore your explanation about statement from Alianas, Mr. Alianas? I'm sure.
Well, am I the second speaker? Is this question, the question belongs to me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, all right. Professor Shamsuri, if you can translate the question, it was more in the Indonesian language. I
Okay,
couldn't.
Dr. Nan, the question relates to whether we need to publish in qualitative, for
Yeah.
us to publish in high impact journals, because the belief is that high impact journals or higher quartiles journals will in social science normally accept qualitative papers. I think because you publish mostly in quantitative in good journals. Maybe you can explain to them whether that belief is right or accurate or not. Thank you.
So his belief is in social sciences, majority of journals are qualitative or quantitative.
Yes, yes. Good journals, normally accept qualitative papers.
All right. Well, from my point of view, yeah, we have two sides, qualitative and quantitative sides. But believe me, I can say majority of papers from across the world, not from any particular country, and they are of the quantitative in nature. And there are some reasons behind, because it's relatively easy to conduct quantitative research. It's relatively easy to justify quantitative research. If it's about the qualitative research, I know people don't have much of the expertise even. In qualitative studies, these are more time consuming. For example, literally in quantitative studies, we have to go for up to 300 or 350 sample size. But in a qualitative studies, it's about the theoretical sampling, which is maybe around 25 to 35 individuals. Mr. Alliance, I literally, it's my point of view, I appreciate qualitative studies. In researches, though our target is to publish in a good journal, and that is, if you are going to publish your work in a good journal, it's going to add value. It is going to add value to your credential. It's going to help your department. It's going to help your university. Universities are supposed to publish work, right? So that's why we are for the number game. But as an individual, I want to contribute to the society. You are from the social sciences. Yeah, you wish to do something uh, for the upcoming generation, for the society. For that, qualitative studies are much better than the quantitative studies. But why people are not going for the qualitative studies? The reason is they need to have different expertise, and it's not difficult but more time consuming. Think about the way to analyze the qualitative data, which is quite bulk in nature. So that is probably the reason. But I think one should have the expertise of the qualitative and quantitative. What I discussed in my presentation, now the dynamics are changed, and dynamics are going to be changed in a near future. We are going to come over to the mixed approaches. Your studies are going to start with a qualitative way, and then you'll have to quantify the results. So it's about the what we call the mixed approaches, where you'll have to make a blend of the qualitative and quantitative approaches, and these two both are so important. I hope I answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Nice
Okay.
explanation.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for, from closing statement from the first speaker and the second speaker. And now that's all our writing academic activities for today. Thank you very much for the speaker and also the participant. Let's say hamdalah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much.
To meet you.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Okay. So now, jadi sekarang kita akan membagikan door prize. Jadi kita akan memilih 5 dari peserta yang akan mendapatkan door prize pulsa sebesar Rp50.000. Okay. Oke. Sekarang kita akan mulai pengundiannya. Oke, selamat untuk Ainun Fakir mendapatkan door prize pulsa sebesar Rp50.000. Oke. Yang kedua, selamat kepada Andi Muhammad Iksan. Wah, saya bukan. Yang ketiga, Satrina. Oke, selanjutnya Jui Mutiara Nur D. Satu lagi. Ya. Oke, terakhir Andi Mutiara Sari. Oke, kami ucapkan selamat kepada para peserta yang mendapatkan door prize pulsa sebesar Rp50.000. Dan sekali lagi, we say thank to our speaker for today. Thank you very much for your participation in our international conference, especially in workshop academic writing. And last, I say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, for your information, at 1:30 there will be panel discussion, and then don't forget to attend again our panel discussion. Okay, at 1:30. Thank you.